In this video, I'm going to show you guys how to set up a brooder. Look, I've got it going. I'm going to cover two things. One, all the supplies that you need, and then how to set it all up. So yeah, I've turned my heat lamp off for a second because it's so much better lighting like this, and it won't kill them. It might actually be a little warm for them, but so it won't hurt to take a little break. We're inside, so we're at room temperature. They are in our dining room, so that way we can keep track of them. Well, let's talk about this first thing. This is the brooder. I like to call it the porta brooder. This is the big box that you contain them in. I use a Rubbermaid. This is a 40-gallon. It's probably 2 foot by 4 feet. And remember, you can put 4 chicks per square foot up to 3 weeks. So do that math. It's 8 square feet in here. So that'll be about 32 chicks till they're about 3 weeks old till they transition outside. The reason I call this a porta brooder, and if you want, you could get the similar thing, a 40-gallon thing. I drilled holes into the side so I could put the roof on. There's a little plastic roof back here that I could put it out on for transport, and then that way they can still get air. Also at night, as they get a little older, I don't do the heat lamp. I'll actually leave them in there and put that lid on at night. And maybe that gives them some warmth or some security, and then that way they can still breathe out of these holes. To make it portable, and the reason I would have it to be portable is ideally I would take them out during the day. Right here, you take them out into my yard. I have built this door so that this can open and shut. And the way I did that is I sawzalled a hole into the side of it, and then I used these scrap wood on either side as washers for the bolts to go through and as places to mount hinges. Stay in there, little buddy. And that way I can open and shut this. It hinges, and it's real nice. I'll shut it, of course, while they're in here. And if I were to take them outside, the other thing I would build is a little ramp to get them out into the grass, and then I would have an encaged area here, okay? Preferably caged roof too, so nothing from the air can get them. And that way they could get out in nature. They would be out day one with mama in the grass eating all kinds of stuff. So the second thing I'll cover is, well, the location of this thing. It's by the light. There's a natural light right there and it has the indoor lighting, so it's nice. I would turn everything off at night and they would have the natural sleep cycle there. Next I'll talk about is the shavings. This is pine shavings, okay? You don't want to use like hay or straw because the manure doesn't fall all the way down and can get on them. So use pine shavings. Some people maybe worry about the aroma of it, but there's plenty of open here. They're getting a lot of ventilation, so I've never had any problems with that. Next we could cover the heat lamp. They value heat more than anything else. They'll make sure they get warm before anything else. So they would actually starve and thirst to death before they would get cold. So they like it about 90 degrees at first. Because I'm in at room temperature and it's spring and we aren't running our air yet, it's pretty warm in here, so they're okay, especially there's a few minutes. The way you can tell, I would know these guys were cold if they started cuddling up together. And in fact, because now they've spread out a little bit more since I've turned that light off, I'm thinking that light might be too much, because if they're cuddling up together, it's too cold. And if they're going around or staying away from the heat lamp and maybe they're being a little lethargic type thing, then it could be too hot. You don't have to get crazy scientific about it or worry too much about it. You could do a temperature. You could take a temperature down here. But I think your main problem is going to be them getting cold, and see, that's not happening. So that heat lamp would come into play if you were putting them out down in a garage or something like that. This shaving is in 8 inches. I like to do at least 8 inches. That way I don't have to change it out. They'll scratch and peck and work that manure in there, and you shouldn't have to change it out throughout. Then the next most important things are the waterer and the feeder. I love to use these quart jar fittings for the waterer and the feeder. It's an attachment you can buy. I'll leave the links to all this, guys, so you can relax. Just relax. I'll leave the links to this in the description below. I do what you call magic water, what I like to call magic water, in this quart water for the first few rounds. And that is per half gallon. So I take a half-gallon jar, fill it with two cloves of smashed garlic. You can see the little garlic particles floating around in there, maybe. What? Pressed. Oh, beautiful one says pressed garlic, excuse me. 2 pressed garlic cloves, 2 tablespoons apple cider vinegar, and half a cup of honey, and that's in a half a gallon. And so then I took it from the half a gallon jar and poured it into this quart jar, and that way I'll have 2 cycles of it. When this one runs out, I'll fill it up. And yeah, of course, you put water in it. I'm sorry. Beauty's back there keeping me straight. She's saying, yeah, after you put the mix of the apple cider vinegar, the honey, and the garlic, you then pour water into it. Of course, I like to do warm water. Well, you need to do warm water so you can mix that honey in. Okay, that's the water. Now this feed is special because, well, not only it's an attachment feeder too, and this will accommodate these birds easy enough. And if you need to, you could get 2 or upgrade. I'm assuming you're not gonna. I'm assuming I'm talking to people who are getting 36 birds or less in this situation. I have fermented this feed, and this is what that looks like, guys. I just put the dry feed in there. You need to get a starter feed, preferably organic or non-GMO. But put your starter feed in a food grade bucket like this, and then pour water over it about 4 inches. What you want to happen is that there no air get to that feed, and that's what allows it to ferment. And it's going to help them boost their immune system. Same thing with this magic water. It helps boost their immune system, just gets them off to a really good start. This also lets their feed go further. I mean, it'll increase the efficiency by 15%. So what I would do, I've already done it today, but what I would do is get a scoop of this, and preferably you're going to let this soak for 3 days before you need it. And if you don't have 3 days, you could put some fermented something or another in there, like pickle juice or kraut juice, something like that, just to speed up that process. And I've got this screener, a stainless steel screener. I've let the water drain out, and then I would just pour this in to the feed pan. And notice I didn't let it, this is set up to be an automatic feeder, and that works well for dry feeds, but it would not work too well for a fermented feed. Let's talk about our grit now. Grit is little tiny rocks. I like to go down to the creek and get creek sand and small rocks, especially creek sand for these little guys. See, these dinos don't have a stomach. They have what you call a gizzard. So they swallow their food, and then a muscle inside of them grinds up that food with rocks. You also notice they don't have teeth. Okay? They will grind that. This helps them digest it. We've just put it in this little tiny bowl. I've already seen them going into it and getting it. And now you'll notice that this is on something special. And this was a game changer for me. Putting the feeder and the water on this, let's call it a dirt trap, was a game changer because look, they're out here on the 1/2 inch wire mesh, getting their water and food, and they're not tracking this shaving into the water and food. If you just put the water and the feeder out on this shaving, they're going to track that stuff into it. So when they hop up on here, when they hop up on this trap, the shavings fall down. You can see them on just one day how many have fallen down in there, and manure. So it goes a long way to keeping this clean. If you don't have this, I'll tell you how to make it here in a second, but if you don't have it, just use a cardboard box. That helps. Now, to make this, I just got a 1/2 inch wire mesh hardware cloth. Depends on who you're talking to, what they call it. I'll leave a link to it. And I stapled it onto this homemade frame out of wood I just got on the farm. This is like a 1 inch by 2 inch. This is like a 2 by 2. It's fine, just scrap it together, and I sized it according to my pan. I think it's a 4-quart pan, and I just dug that pan in there. See, if this were the area I was going for, I would have just dug it out, and then I put that pan in there, and then I would cover it up with this food trap, and then put the feed and the water on there. That thing's just awesome. I just can't say enough about that. I think we're almost done here, guys. I think I'll speak about one more thing. This is in the open, and that's cool. if you don't have chidlers. And that's cool until they get about 3 weeks, or not even 3 weeks old. They won't be long before they are jumping up here. And that's fine. If they want to get up here and look out and have some dinner with us, that's nice. You like that? You like eating dinner with us? Sure they do. But the problem is they end up perching like this. Yeah. Holy chicken squat on your kitchen floor. And that's not good. That's misdirected, and that's a pain in the butt to clean up, especially if you have chidlers. And even more so, they get really bold and they hop down, and you got little dinos running all over your kitchen floor. And that's not so much of a problem, except there's manure everybody, and somebody might get stepped on. The other thing about it being open, especially if you have chidlers, is that they'll come and play with it. Gideon, he'll throw this mulch into the water. He'll grab these. If we let Gideon grab one of these, it would be like a mice and men. You know, he would have good intentions, but he would actually kill this thing. Okay, just out of being overly friendly and overly excited. So, to fix that, I created this crate to go over. A crate, I guess? No, I don't know what you call this thing. But I sized it. It's just custom sized. It didn't take that long to make. It's 1/2-inch wire mesh on a frame. Okay, there's two bars going across to hold it up, and there's 2 bars at the end to complete the frame, and then 2 bars on the side. I just measured it and cut it to size, and then that way the dinos don't jump out and the chidlers don't grab in. And it's the best of both worlds, and everybody's safe and everybody's happy. Now when you go to put them in, whether you're getting them out of a box, out of the U.S. Postal Service, or you're bringing them in from an incubator, whatever the reason, you want to bring them in one at a time. Let's pretend we're doing that. So I would bring this little guy in. Isn't it fun to hold these guys? It's so fun. Give them a little dip in the waterer so they know where it is and so they get their drink. Now little chicks can go 2 or 3 days, well 72 hours without food. But once they get food and water, they have to drink. Look at them pecking each other. Okay, they do peck at each other. You guys heard of it calling the pecking order, and that kind of pecking is fine. If they're taking somebody down, that somebody is sick, okay? And that's their natural way of strengthening their species, strengthening their flock, okay? The strongest survive. And you can either separate that one out. You certainly wouldn't want to breed that one again because you want strong genetics, especially if you're breeding. And you could separate it out if you want and see if it will get better. We actually did that with one a little bit earlier. Don't be worried about losses. Well, I mean, a crazy amount of losses. Like over 10%, you know, under that, it's going to be expected. We actually lost a guy or gal that something was wrapped around their leg as they hatched, and it cut off that circulation. And by the time we saw it, and when we got them out of the incubator, we treated it. There was an infection, so we treated with peroxide and then put some homemade salve on it, but the little thing didn't make it. We did put it aside in a cardboard box right here, and you could do that. Otherwise they're going to take each other down, and just see if it recovers, and if not, just let nature take its course. Oh, and if you really want to get saucy, give them some natural feeds. That's just some food scraps from our kitchen. It would probably help. It would help if I broke it up. Mama hen would be breaking it up for them, so break it up real fine, and they'll really enjoy that. It could be any food scraps from your kitchen. Eggs, look how I'm picking at it. Eggs, lettuce, and if you don't have anything like that, or broccoli head would probably be really good, go out into the grass and just pick them some grass or clover, and they'll really appreciate it. Is it absolutely necessary? No, they've got their complete diet in that grain set up, but this is certainly a plus. It will go a long way to keeping them healthy and happy. So that's really it. Just remember, probably the most important thing is just relax. Take a deep breath, have fun with it. They are very resilient. Sure, you may lose some, and it's to be expected, and it's okay to be sad about it, but just keep on going. They're in much better care than they would have been in some other conventional farm or something like that. So just remember that. You're doing a good service for them, for the species, and for your family. So just sit back, relax, do your best, and enjoy.